Okay. Welcome to the GOCC, the Gathering of Christ Church, New York service. We apologize for starting a little late today. You know, we're dealing with Israel time, which is a different time zone for most people. Okay, as is always is custom within our church, every male will come up and read. We have a few brothers today, so we're going to do just 5 verses. We've been reading the whole Bible, and we at 2 Samuel, the 17th chapter. So a brother will come up, introduce himself, and read 5 verses, and sit back down. And then the next brother who's going to read will sit here, and vice versa. So I guess we could start from Brother Darrell to come up, and then we could start with Brother Aban. Will be the next one. Okay.
Gotcha. Shabbat Shalom, family. My name is Brother Andrell from the tribe of Judah, nation of Israel. We'll be picking up at 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 1. And moreover, Ahithophel said unto Absalom, let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night. Verse 2. And I will come upon him while he is weary and weak-handed, and will make him afraid, and all the people that are with him shall flee. And I will smite the king only. Verse 3. And I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seekest is as if all returned. So all the people shall be in peace. Verse 4. And the saying pleased Absalom well, and all the elders of Israel. Verse 5. Then said Absalom, call now Hishrai the Archerite also, and let us hear likewise what he saith. Shalom. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. My name is Brother Aban from the tribe of Simeon, nation of Israel. 2 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 6. And when Hushai was come to Absalom, Absalom spake unto him, saying, Ahithophel had spoken after this manner. Shall we do after his saying? If not, speak thou. And Hushai said unto Absalom, the counsel that Ahithophel hath given is not good at this time. For, said Hushai, thou knowest thy father and his men, and they be mighty men, and they be chafed in their minds as a bear robbed of her whelps in the field. And thy father is a man of war, and will not lodge with the people. Behold, he is hid now in some pit, or in some other place, and it will come to pass, when some of them be overthrown at the first, that whosoever heareth it will say, there is a slaughter among the people that follow Absalom. Verse 10, and he also that is valiant, whose heart is as the heart of a lion, shall utterly melt. For all Israel knoweth that thy father is a mighty man, and they which be with him are valiant men. Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, family. My name is Brother Ganan from the tribe of Judah, nation of Israel, I'll be reading from 2 Samuel, verse 17, verses 11 through 15. Verse 11. Therefore I counsel that all Israel be generally gathered unto thee, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand that is by the sea for the multitude, and that thou go to battle in thy own person. Verse 12. So shall we come upon him in some place where he shall be found, and we will light upon him as the dew falleth on the ground. And of him and of all the men that are with him there shall not be left so much as one. Verse 13. Moreover, if he be gotten into the city, then shall all Israel bring ropes to the city, and we will draw it into the river, until there be not one small stone found there. Verse 14. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel, for the Most High has appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, to the intent that the Most High might bring evil upon Absalom. Verse 15. Then said Hushai unto Zadok and to Abiathar the priest, thus and thus did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus have I counseled. Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Brother Chad, tribe of Judah, nation of Israel, and we are in 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 16. Now therefore send quickly and tell David, saying, lodge not this night in the plains of the wilderness, but speedily pass over, lest the king be swallowed up and all the people that are with him. 17. Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz stay by Enrogel, for they might not be seen to come into the city. And a wench went and told them, and they went and told King David. 18. Nevertheless a lad saw them and told Absalom, but they went both of them away quickly, and came to a man's house in Bahurim, which had a well in his court, whither they went down. 19. And the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth, and spread ground corn thereon, and the thing was not known. 20. And when Absalom's servants came to the woman to the house, they said, where is Ahimaaz and Jonathan? And the woman said unto them, they be gone over the brook of water. And when they had sought and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, family. My name is Yatabia Allah from the tribe of Benjamin, nation of Israel. 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 21. And it came to pass, after they were departed, that they came up out of the well, and went and told King David, and said unto David, arise and pass quickly over the water, for thus hath Ahithophel counseled against you. Then David arose, and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan. By the morning light there lacked not one of them that was not gone over Jordan. And when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and arose, and got him home to his house, to his city, and put his household in order, and hanged himself, and died, and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. Then David came to Mahanaim, and Absalom passed over Jordan, he and all the men of Israel with him. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the host instead of Joab, which Amasa was a man's son, whose name was Ephraim, an Israelite, that went into Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, and sister to Zeruiah, Joab's mother. Come on.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Dionis from the tribe of Simeon, nation of Israel. I'm going to read from 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 26. So Israel and Absalom pitched in the land of Gilead, verse 27. And it came to pass, when David was come to Mahanaim, that Shabai, the son of Nahash, of Rabbah, of the children of Ammon, and Machir, the son of Amiel, of Lodebar, and Barzillai, the Gileadite, of Rajalim, verse 28, brought beds and basins and earthen vessels and wheat and barley and flour and parched corn and beans and lentils and parched pulse, verse 29, and honey and butter and sheep and cheese of kine for David and for the people that were with him to eat, for they said, the people is hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 1. And David numbered the people that were with him and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. Amen.
Last reader.
Shabbat Shalom. Brother Mazenah from the tribe of Ephraim. 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 2. And David sent forth a third part of the people under the hand of Joab, and a third part under the hand of Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother, and a third part under the hand of Ittai the Gittite, and the king, and said to the people, I will surely go forth with you myself also. But the people answered, Thou shalt not go forth, for if we flee away, they will not care for us. Neither if half of us die, they will care for us. But now thou art worth 10,000 of us. Therefore now it is better that thou succor us out of the city. And the king said unto them, What seemeth you best, I will do. And the king stood by the gate side, and all the people came out by hundreds and by thousands. And the king commanded Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, Deal gently for my sake with the young man, even with Absalom. And all the people heard when the king gave all the captains charge concerning Absalom. Verse 6, So the people went out into the field against Israel, and the battle was in the wood of Ephraim. Shalom.
Okay, I apologizing in advance for those brothers that wanted to come and read, but we had to cut it short due to the fact that we started late today, so we apologize for that. So, we have a lesson ready for you guys today. Brother Ironwoodstop has a history lesson, a very important history lesson for all children of Israel, and for we could have the full understanding that there has been a conspiracy, in my opinion, to dissociate the Latino struggle, Native American struggle, with the African American or the so-called African American struggle in America and throughout the world. They wiped out all the history dealing with the Seminole Wars, when Native Americans and runaway slaves teamed up together and held their ground in Florida. And until this day, they didn't sign any treaty with the United States government. And that is a history that we as a people, black and brown, should remember, know about. Our children should know about these heroic feats that our ancestors did and things of that nature. So we're going to touch on that a little bit today with Brother Ironwoodstop, from the tribe of Ephraim, and the tribe of Simeon, Brother GOCC. So we're going to hand it over to Brother Ironwoodstop. Give the brother a hand.
Thank you, Elder. Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. All right. I want to give all praises to the Most High in Christ. Ahayabah Hashem Yeshaya Wawawak. As the Elder mentioned, as of late, there's been a surge, and I'm sure brothers are familiar with black nationalists, Pan-Africanists, and Egyptologists' teachings. It's important to note that these ideologies, these teachings are a departure from their origin and what they were initially meant to be. When these teachings were coming to the forefront of the consciousness within our community back in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and so on, it was merely a stepping stone for brothers to get to the truth, which is where we are. Somewhere along the way, brothers and sisters lost sight of that and began to inject their own personal emotions and their own personal experiences into these teachings. And as a result of that, you get sayings, you hear things like the black man is God, they're saying the black woman is God, they're saying, oh, no creator created me, I created myself. They lack giving praise to the Creator, to the Most High. And in addition, you'll also hear a lot of brothers, and I have some exact quotes here today, which is partly what we're going to address, causing division amongst our people. The black and brown struggle has been won since we got to this land, because it's always been us against our oppressor, you see? And we identify those as the so-called European today, who we know as Esau in the scriptures. But it seems that as of late, brothers have made themselves authorities over these various doctrines when they had no position to do so in the first place. So you'll hear things like blacks and Latinos have nothing in common. You'll hear things like, and it's funny because Brother Kazan and I were watching a brother give a lesson not so long ago. You may have heard of Dr. Umar Johnson. You have other brothers, Cyrus Sunseti, he's on the conscious network, conscious circuit as of right now at the Black Theater down in Harlem. You'll hear a lot of these brothers say things like, and this is an exact quote, Latinos deliberately stayed out of the civil rights movement and waited on the sidelines until the benefits of the bills were reaped, and then they came out. Now, anyone that knows modern history knows that this is a total fallacy. Some of the other things they may say, Latinos never claimed that they were black, but a minority so that they could receive the benefits of the black struggle without having to be black. Now this to a degree is true, because we have been known to shy away from our blackness, but it's due to the captivity that we face. We as a people suffered a different colonization, one and the same, but there was some variants under the Spanish crown as opposed to the England, the Dutch, the French. There were some differences. The Spanish crown allowed the natives to mix amongst the people of pure blood, so to speak, a little bit more. So we have more of an affinity towards our oppressor, towards our master. So it's important to know these things when brothers make statements like this. Another one, Latinos have an agenda to remove the black man from the workforce and only empower their own. As though we have, roundtable discussions amongst the Latino community to overthrow the black establishment. These are severe misconceptions, and my objective today is to bring clarity to the division and show the solution through the scriptures, which is our scrolls. Now, this message isn't directed towards brothers that are in the truth, because we know the truth, but this is more so directed to a lot of the things that you'll hear on the outside when you're on the street. Brothers that have maybe like this much, they say a little bit of wisdom is dangerous. So sometimes brothers will hear a little something, the Egyptians was black. I mean, we black, everybody black, except Latino. If you light skinned, you're not black. These are things that are ridiculous. Black is a state of consciousness. It doesn't necessarily, correlate with one's skin tone. You see? So we got to begin to remove these fallacies. And as Latino people, we have to empower ourselves and know our history. You see, because Latinos oftentimes, we shy behind the sidelines. We're kind of like, we're there, but we don't come to the forefront with the power, with the history that our people have. We have some of the richest culture in the world, and we got to begin to know our history and be proud of it. So I'm going to address a lot of these things we're going to reference a number of sources. We're going to be in the Bible, but I have some secular documents that I'm going to break out because it's necessary when going to brothers that are in the world. You got to come to them where they're at. You know, as Paul said, be all things to all men. So we got to use what they use against them to tear down imaginations. You see, so if brothers and sisters could bear with me, we're going to be doing a lot of reading, but just be in tune. I pray it's an exciting lesson. So this is going to be Judah and Ephraim and Israel oppressed together. That's the premise of this lesson. So let's begin with the scrolls of our ancestors, and let's jump off at 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 13.
It's the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 13. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse.
It says evil men, seducers. Those are people that lure people into their understanding. Okay? Seducers shall wax worse and worse. They will become worse over time.
Deceiving and being deceived.
So not only will they deceive brothers, but they'll also deceive themselves through the wickedness of their own heart, because a lot of these people are really vain. You know, it's like they seek to get on the stage and just say, oh, you know, I'm such and such, I'm this, I'm that, but it's not really for the betterment of our community. You know, so we got to hold brothers accountable, especially Latinos. All right, continue, Rock.
Verse 14. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of.
Continue in the things that you have learned and been assured of. What have we learned? We learned these precepts, right? We've learned that these scrolls are true, are accurate. So we got to continue in that. Don't be swayed by these doctrines, you know, that really lead to no end. It's just feel-good doctrines. You know, oh, you know, we was royal, the white man is evil, he was in the cave, you know, and that's it. And it's like, well, brother, if that's the case, how did the white man take us over? You know, if we were so royal and things of that nature, we were royal people, but we have to take accountability for ourselves. You see what I'm saying? We obviously did something wrong, you know, so you can't say the black man is God in one instance, but then all of us are still in captivity. You walk these streets, we the only ones in these projects, smoked out, doing drugs and so on. Continue, Rock.
Knowing of whom thou hast learnt them.
Right. So we give all glory, all praise to the Most High. Let's jump to Romans 16 and 17. This is Paul speaking.
The book of Romans chapter 16 verse 17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions. Mark them.
Paul says, I warn you, brethren, mark those that cause divisions and offenses. Should we as Latino people not be offended when they say that we have nothing to do with the struggle? Should we as Latino people not be offended when they say that, you know, we don't belong to the diaspora, knowing that 95% of all African victims in the so-called transatlantic slave trade went to Latin America? Only 5% came to the U.S. and they got here last. We had the first so-called African-American experience and the blending of the Tainos with the African people. That happened down in Brazil. That happened in Puerto Rico. That happened in DR. That happened in Haiti. That happened in Cuba, Panama. We're all kindred of the same blood. So are we not to be offended when they remove that from us? Right? Continue, Rock.
Mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned.
Contrary to the doctrine which we have learned. What have we learned? We've learned that it's the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes, right? 10 of them being the northern kingdom, which are the so-called Latinos and Indians of today. Right? So let's go to Revelations chapter 7, verse 1. We'll read 1 through 4 to see what the doctrine is that we have learned. What's the doctrine we've learned concerning our people?
It's the book of Revelations, chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree.
Right, so the angels are holding back destruction from the earth. Read on.
And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. Verse 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads.
So we have sealed the servants of the power on our foreheads. Right? Continue.
Verse 4.
Who are the servants? Continue.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of the 12 tribes.
Of some of the tribes.
Of the 12 tribes.
Of the 3 tribes of the southern kingdom.
Of the 12 tribes.
Of all 12 tribes.
Of the children of Israel.
Of the children of Israel. So we are one people. Okay? And we as a people have to start representing that. It's not just about your tribe. It's not just, I'm black, I'm from the tribe of Judah, or I'm Ephraim, I'm Puerto Rican. We gotta expand, and we gotta understand that the only way that we'll enter the new heaven, to the new kingdom, is once we're joined together. Once we're together as a people. The angels are holding back the winds until we're sealed. All 12 tribes. Okay? This is not just 1 or 2 tribes here. This is all tribes. Let's jump back to Romans 16 and 18. This is in reference to the evil seducers that wax worse and worse.
The book of Romans chapter 16 verse 18. For they that are such serve not our Lord Yeshua Christ.
They serve not our Lord Yeshua Christ. Right? They have no zeal for the Most High in Christ. They only reverence themselves. Okay? Continue.
But their own belly.
Their own belly. So they seek to satisfy themselves. They want to fill their bellies up with their own knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, like the scriptures say. Right?
And by good words and fair speeches.
Good words and fair speeches. What happens?
Deceive the hearts of the simple.
They deceive the hearts of the simple. So these brothers that are out here on these streets, that are preaching these spin doctrines, that suit their own ideologies, they have no zeal for Christ. They seek to satisfy themselves, and through their good words and fair speeches, it could be deceit. That's the deceiving part. That's why they're seducers, because what they say sounds good, right? But the conclusion of the matter is that they just seek in reverence to themselves. Let's get Colossians 2 and 8, and then we're going to jump into referencing some of their sources.
It's the book of Colossians chapter 2 verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. Anybody can be a philosopher. It's vain. Read.
After the tradition of men.
After the tradition of men. That's self-explanatory. Go ahead.
After the rudiments of the world.
Right?
And not after Christ.
And not after Christ. That's the key part. That's what divides good from evil and true from false. Is if it comes from these scriptures. If it doesn't add up with the scriptures, we can't acknowledge it. We know we are special people, but not according to what you think is special, because you think only your people are special. Right? So I figured that we'll start off with, given that the Pan-Africanist doctrine right now is making a surge, even though it's not really Pan-Africanist, because most of these brothers are not going out to the continent and establishing connections like our ancestors did. But the father of the Pan-African movement was Marcus Garvey. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with who Marcus Garvey was. So I'm going to reference from this book, Race First. Okay, this is a widely acknowledged book. It's by Tony Martin. It captures the entire struggle of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which was Marcus Garvey's organization, and the life of Marcus Garvey and how he came to be, and his whole movement, his ideology, his teachings, everything. So we're going to reference right from his book what he believes and what the motto of the UNIA was, right? Let's get that, and then we'll flip back. Start.
If anybody has devices on, please put them on mute or silent. Thank you. Okay, this is Race First, Chapter 2. Race First and Self-Reliance. It says here, what we believe...
This is the motto. This is the motto for the Universal Negro Improvement Association, right? Follow.
It says, what we believe, the Universal Negro Improvement Association advocates the unity and blending of all Negroes.
Some Negroes.
All Negroes.
Just African Americans.
All Negroes.
Right? Now, real quick, can anybody tell me what the Spanish crown called those of a darker hue? What did they call them? What was the word that they used? Go ahead, Doc. Moreno, right? Or negro. How you spell negro? Right. How you spell negro? Right. So is there really any difference? Our oppressors and PR in the islands, right? In South America, they were calling us negrito, el clavo negro, moreno, right? And here in the States, they called you negro or nigger, right? So when he says all Negroes, this is in reference to the diaspora, and we're gonna show you that because Marcus Garvey had a clear concept of the diaspora, and most brothers that reference his work today only focus on the few chapters that he had here in Harlem. They don't know about the chapters that he had elsewhere. But read that again. I'll start from the top.
It says here, what we believe, the Universal Negro Improvement Association advocates the unity and blending of all Negroes.
All Negroes.
Into one strong, healthy race.
Into one race.
It is against miscegenation, and race suicide. It believes that the Negro race is as good as any other,
right?
And therefore should be as proud of itself as others are.
Exactly. Now we got to remember the times that this was written. This was back in the mid-20s, okay? Mid to late 20s is when he got started. But read on.
It believes in the purity of the Negro race and purity of the white race.
No mixing. And even the scriptures tell us that we should not go into the ways of the Gentiles. We were supposed to keep to ourselves. And we don't preach a racist doctrine, but that's just what it is, right? We're a special people. We're a peculiar people that the Most High set aside. So we should deal with ourselves first. Go ahead.
It is against rich blacks marrying poor whites.
Okay.
It is against rich or poor whites taking advantage of Negro women. It believes in the spiritual fatherhood.
This is key. Start that piece right over.
It believes in the spiritual fatherhood of God.
It believes in the spiritual fatherhood of God. This was their motto. They openly worshiped the Most High. They knew they had a connection with the Most High. These brothers nowadays, it's like if you even mention Christ in the same sentence as Egypt or black, oh brother, that's the white man's book. That's blasphemy. We don't need that book. You know, and so we can obviously see that deceit has waxed worse and worse over time. Because not so long ago, the father of this movement and the man who was responsible and made the blueprint for all black struggle movements to follow, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, all of that, they all took pieces from Marcus Garvey. So if he's acknowledging the Most High, the supreme power, right, then what happened? Where's the disconnect? Read that piece over, Ak.
It says it believes in the spiritual fatherhood of the Most High. and the brotherhood of man.
And the brotherhood of man. The brotherhood of man. So these brothers have lost touch with the very model of which they claim to get their understanding from. So how can you be against what was implemented from the beginning? That's how you know it's vain deceit. That's how you know brothers are teaching the traditions of men and preaching for their own benefit. Right? Now, let's go back to, right here. You could read that. I want to show that the UNIA had distinguished chapters outside of the U.S. And we're going to see where these chapters were. Okay, because remember, the premise of this is Latinos didn't have any involvement in the struggle, right? We not black. We don't identify with being black, right? Let's see what history tells us. Go ahead, Doc.
This is Race First, page 17. Outside the United States, Cuba led with 52 branches. 52 branches. Read on. More than any single United State except Louisiana. So Cuba, which is, last time I checked, is a Latino country, we know them as the tribe of Manasseh, have 52 branches of the UNIA, more than any single state in the U.S. outside of Louisiana, which is, for obvious reasons, Louisiana is pitch black. You know, those brothers, it's a lot of brothers down there, you know, so we you know, that's okay. You know what I mean? We coming in right after that. Go ahead. The greater Caribbean area, including Central America. And northern South America. Was undoubtedly the biggest Garveyite stronghold outside the United States. Hold on, read that again. I need to hear that one more time. It says the greater Caribbean area, including Central America and northern South America, right, was undoubtedly the biggest Garveyite stronghold outside of the United States. So outside of the U.S., Latin America, the Northern Kingdom, was the strongest hold of the UNIA, even more so than Africa. They had more chapters in PR, in Cuba, in DR. They even had chapters in Mexico, which brothers will tell you now, all the Mexicans, they ain't real. You know, they hate black people, right? But there was an understanding that existed back then. So obviously, our oppressor has worked very hard at dividing us, right? Go ahead. It says South Africa was the most thoroughly organized of the African countries. No area of significant black population in the world was without a UNIA branch. This included Canada, Europe, and Australia. So Marcus Garvey understood, it's almost like he knew who the 12 tribes of Israel was before that understanding was even really brought forth. He was, you know, he had tentacles on every black society, and he obviously acknowledged us as being one of him. Because when you read on in the book, it tell you that, and you read about Marcus Garvey history, it tell you that the first place that he went to outside of Jamaica was Panama and Costa Rica. That's where he actually began his teachings. That's where he began his struggle, was from Central America. And then he went to England, and then he came to Harlem. Right? So it's deep. Now, real quick, we're not going to spend too much time here, but real quick, just read off some, the ones that I highlighted. Just read off some of where these UNIA factions were outside of the U.S. Let's see, and let's see how many branches they had in each country. This is Race First, page 16, table 2. The graph shows, number 1, Cuba, with 52 branches. So Cuba was, as we just read, had the most chapters of the Universal Negro Improvement Association outside of the U.S. Cuba, even more than Jamaica, more than Haiti, right? Read on. Panama with 47. Panama was number 2. Go ahead. Costa Rica with 23 branches. Costa Rica was number 3. I still haven't heard any African countries that they acknowledge as being black. This is no diss. I'm just showing what it is, right? We were clearly involved. Read on. At number 7 is Spanish Honduras with 8 branches. Honduras.
had 8 branches, right? Now we know, if anybody's familiar with Honduras, they got the Garifuna people, and they're clearly black, right? Okay, read on.
At number 10, Colombia
Colombia.
with 6 branches.
Go ahead.
11, Dominican Republic with 5 branches.
Dominican Republic. Now, if anybody know DR, who we know as Simeon, you know, Dominicans today have a very interesting outlook on their blackness, right? They oftentimes shy away from it. But we know that they have a very intricate African history in that island, right? That's where the slaves first came. So let me get a few more branches, just to show the congregation.
Number 12, Guatemala with 5 branches.
Guatemala.
Number 13, Nicaragua with 5 branches.
Nicaragua.
Number 16, Mexico with 4 branches.
Mexico.
Number 28, Brazil.
So even Mexicans knew they was black. Even Mexicans was joining in on the movement. Right? Read on.
Brazil with 1 branch.
Brazil.
Number 36, Puerto Rico with 1 branch.
I thought Puerto Ricans wasn't black though.
Puerto Rico with 1 branch.
Right?
At number 41, Venezuela had 1 branch.
Venezuela. That sounds like all 12. I think we read down Asher. We read Asher. We read Zebulon, Issachar, Ephraim, Simeon, Manasseh. Right? We was all involved. And it's also important to note that he had one of the earliest newspapers that really propagated, you know, or disseminated rather, our vision for unified blackness. It was called the Negro Globe. And one of the largest contributors to that newspaper was Arturo Schomburg. Does anybody know who Arturo Schomburg was? Right? Go ahead, Aramis. Who's Arturo Schomburg? Right. Is anybody familiar with the Schomburg Institute right over there on 135th Street? Now, a common thought today, they even call him Arthur Schomburg now. They took out the Arturo and the Alfonso. His name was Arturo Alfonso Schomburg. Okay, now we know we take on our oppressors' last names, so that should be no surprise, but he was born and raised in PR. He actually coined the term Afro-Borinqueño, or Afro-Puerto Rican, which, you know, over time became Afro-Latino. You'll see a lot of people now, they're proud to be Afro-Latino. But Schomburg originated that. He moved to New York City. He moved to Harlem in 1891. Before the Harlem Renaissance. He was instrumental in the Harlem literary movement. Okay, with brothers like, what's the poet's name? Langston Hughes, and so on. All of these famous black authors that you hear about, they came to Harlem in that day. But Arturo Schomburg came before them and started chronologizing all of our history, and the New York Public Library brought out his library and actually made it the Schomburg Institute, which is now on 135th Street. So to say that we didn't have an understanding of our blackness is a total lie when you dig into the records. You see, Arturo Schomburg wrote a piece called "The Negro Digs Up His Own History." You know, so I suggest, you know, people look into that. That's good history there. Also, really quick, I'm not sure if people are familiar with the COINTEL program that the CIA and FBI did. That was the main program that was developed by, what's the FBI cat's name? Hoover. Right. Hoover developed that program to take out all struggles that look to overthrow the establishment. Now, brothers today, they'll tell you that he created the program for Marcus Garvey, but they don't mention Pedro Albizu Campos, who actually had a movement that was simultaneous with Marcus Garvey. There's a movie called COINTELPRO 101. It's really good. It goes into the whole history of how Hoover and the government conspired to take out Albizu Campos, because that brother was super radical. He actually tried to assassinate the president and was successful in shooting up a few senators. Okay? You know, he has since died. They radiated him to death. You know? He did 25 years in prison. They couldn't extradite him because he was a U.S. citizen. You see? So they couldn't kick him out the country like they did Marcus Garvey. They told Marcus Garvey, go home. But Abisu Campos, they was like, nah, you're going to stay right here. So he did 25 years in prison, and they radiated him to death, literally. If you see pictures of him in his dying age, he had welts, and he was red, his hair was falling out, everything. It's like like he had to be carried out of prison, you know, and he was Puerto Rican. You see, so, and he was a black Puerto Rican at that, and he knew that, he identified as that when you hear his speeches and so on, and he was Harvard educated. So I'm just bringing these things to light so that people have an awareness, so that when you hear brothers kicking this stuff about, oh, Latinos are not black and so on, we have to push back, especially Latinos. Because sometimes we just be like, well, you know, that was done, you know, whatever. But now we got to let them know. Like, nah, but show and prove what you talking about. You know, are you familiar with Arturo Schomburg? Are you familiar with Pedro Albizu Campos? Let's talk about these things. So next, we done with that, right? Sure. Yeah, so we're going to move on from the race first issue. That's topic number 1 down, okay? The Pan-Africanist movement was heavily concerned with the plight of Latino people, and we were heavily involved. That's the conclusion of that, okay? Now, we're going to transition to the next topic. Let me get Hosea chapter 5, verse 5.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 5, verse 5. And the pride of Israel doeth testify to his face. Therefore shall Israel and Ephraim fall in their iniquity. Judah also shall fall with them.
So Judah, which is the so-called Negro of today, the so-called black man, will fall with Ephraim, which is the so-called Puerto Rican, right? And Israel, which is the rest of the northern tribes. It says we will fall together. That's prophecy. And you see it right here. Harlem is a perfect example. We in East Harlem right now, you see nothing but Judah and Ephraim together going through suffering the same curses. Now, let me ask you all a question. How many people here are familiar with the era of lynching that occurred in this country? Raise your hands. Let me see it. Show of hands. Right? Everybody's heard of that. Blacks being lynched in droves, right? They said he even coined the term picnic after pick a nigga from hanging brothers from trees. That's how modern, that's how prevalent and pervasive it was throughout the society. I have a book here, Without Sanctuary. It's a compilation of a bunch of lynching photos. Right? Now we know that these white brothers and sisters back in the day, which we know as Esau, used to make postcards out of lynchings. And they would send it to their family members. So this is like a whole collection of stuff. Maybe after the class, you know, people come up and take a look. But let me ask you a question. Is anybody familiar with the rampant lynching of Latinos in this country? In the same time period? Not so many people have heard about that, right? But when you do your research, there's a lot of studies coming out about that right now, and that's what we're going to get into. Brother Andrell, could you pass out these? I only put in 20. I wasn't, you know, the congregation is strong today. So maybe do 10 in each row and try to share. But this is actually a view. This is a picture of Mexicans being lynched. Okay, and I think this was in like 1910. And this history is not spoken about at all. And we got to ask ourselves why. So right now, we're going to jump into another study that was conducted by the Harvard Review. It's called, it was just published not so long ago, maybe I think last year it came out. It's called The Law of the Noose, A History of Latino Lynching. Okay, and it provides stats and numbers and figures and everything. So my brother Kazaa is going to go into an excerpt from this study, and I pray that you all bear with me, because we're going to read a few paragraphs, but it's important to get the context of this whole thing. So just tune in. Want to hit Jeremiah? Okay, let's get Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33 first. and then we'll jump into the study.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 33. It says, Thus saith the Lord of hosts,
Thus saith the Most High,
the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together.
the children of Israel and the children of Judah are oppressed together. This is one struggle. Is that it on that? Or?
And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go.
All that took them captives held them fast and refused to let them go. Now, who was that? We can't even leave our country. If the last time that we tried to do that was, which we read right here, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, when he tried to get millions of blacks to go back to the continent, what did they do? They said, nah, brother, you got to go. And they infiltrated the movement, and it dissipated. Right? So they don't even let us go. And we know that the scriptures don't lie. Right? These brothers out here will lie to you, though. They tell you that Latinos ain't black. They tell you that we're not part of the struggle. So, excuse my passion, because I've been hearing this for a long time. And as a black Puerto Rican, I take offense to that. You see? So, let's get into the Harvard Review.
Also as a black Dominican.
That's my brother right here. Okay. Black Dominican, we together, right? You see that?
Okay.
This, two islands put together, you know?
That's right.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, so this is Law of the Noose.
Tune in.
Chapter 2, Latino lynching. A recent casebook, Latinos and the Law, Cases and Materials, summarizes much of what is known about Latino lynching. Most of the material cited therein is relatively recent, yet the numbers the authorities report are remarkably similar. 597 lynchings or slightly more.
So 600 lynchings that they've documented happened to Latinos in this country. 600. That's no small number. I think documented to blacks is like between 3,500 and 5,000. Okay? But this is going to go into that. Let's go.
Most of them date in years immediately following it. Moreover, the reasons that motivated the lynchings were similar for the two groups. Acting uppity, taking away jobs, making advances toward white women, cheating at cards, practicing witchcraft, and refusing to leave land the Anglos coveted.
We just read that in Jeremiah. They said that your captors will refuse to let you go. So whenever we try to leave our lands, what do? We read right here, they lynched us. Right? They said, oh, you acting too uppity. Yeah. Take them out. These are the same reasons that they did for blacks. Now, it's important to note that 600 lynchings of Latinos. This is actually relative to the amount of blacks that were lynched, because at that time there was much less Latinos living in this country. And when you talk about how the lynches were almost exclusive to Mexicans, that's a large population, 600 people, and we know it was more because they only documented 600. So it was probably like 1,200, right? So go ahead.
It says, with one exception. Mexicans were lynched for acting too Mexican.
How can you act too Mexican? How is that even possible? Go ahead.
Speaking Spanish too loudly or reminding Anglos too defiantly of their Mexicanness.
So we speak Spanish too loud, that's it. Dominicans would be in trouble, right? Back then. Oye, que lo que? Right? You would have got lynched for that. Go ahead.
Even Mexican women, often belong to lower economic classes, were lynched, often for sexual offenses such as resisting Anglos' advances too forcefully.
So if a white man tried to rape one of our sisters and she refused, she got lynched. Just like what happened to the so-called Negro. Right? Read on. We got some more. We're going to go through a little bit here, so just bear with me.
At least one thing, the physical brutality and harassment of Latinos ended with Reconstruction and the years immediately following it. A similar but less deadly form of violence took place during World War II, when U.S. servicemen in Los Angeles attacked young Mexican-American men who loitered the streets corners wearing distinctive zoot suits, gold watches, chains, and slicked back hair.
Now, how many people have read the autobiography of Malcolm X? Right? Now, and when you read in the autobiography, it tell you that when he moved to New York from down south, he was wearing zoot suits. And brothers was clowning him, like, yo, take that zoot suit off, right? Now, brothers today will tell you, they'll tell you Latinos don't have nothing in common with blacks, right? But then they'll tell you especially Mexicans have nothing to do with the black struggle. It's like Latinos have nothing to do. It's almost like they'll be like Latinos and Mexicans, right? Like as though Mexicans are separate from Latinos because they're so distinctive, right? So they give Issachar a lot of trouble, man. But look what they was doing. They was wearing zoot suits, gold watch chains, and slick back hair. That don't sound like Judah? That don't sound like brothers, right? But we got nothing in common? Go ahead, Art.
Although the violence amounted to beatings, forceful undressings, and other forms of non-lethal humiliation, the attacks went on for several days without official intervention. As with the earlier wave of lynching, the World War II era attacks targeted Mexican youths who displayed their identity too proudly and openly.
This is the same thing. Judah and Israel are oppressed together. Go ahead.
The number of African American lynchings during the period questioned were, of course, higher, around 3,400 to 5,000. But the Latino group in the United States was much smaller and the Mexican group smaller still, so that the rate of lynchings for the two groups was similar.
So, like I said, it was relative. The rate of lynching for Mexicans and blacks was relative. So, why is it that we don't have a without sanctuary book with a bunch of Latino lynchings in it? It's important to be familiar with our history and understand that pain and that emotion so that we can overcome that, right? Read on.
As with blacks, Latino lynchings went on with the knowledge and in some cases active participation of Anglo law enforcement authorities, especially the Texas Rangers, and some of whom seem to harbor a special animus towards persons of Mexican descent.
Right. So the law enforcement participated in these things just as they did with Negroes. Go ahead.
Moreover, the lynchings of Mexicans, like of blacks, was often marked by hilarity and an atmosphere of righteous celebration or public spectacle.
Right. So they did the same thing. They actually mutilated the bodies of Mexicans after lynching them, just like they did with blacks. You'll hear, if you actually go into, different sources, you'll hear about how the Anglos actually would cut off body parts of blacks after the lynching and use them as ornaments in their houses. They would sell them. They use them as spectacles. So this is saying that they did the same thing to Mexicans. Take their ears off, take their members off, play with them. That's some serious stuff. Go ahead.
It says, moreover, the lynchings of Mexicans, like that of blacks, was often... Oh, Salaki, I read that.
That's all right. Let me hold that. Let me get Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. We're going to link to these curses. Yeah, we'll go ahead. Just want to finish it up.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment.
An astonishment.
A proverb.
A proverb. Spick, nigger, negro, negro, moreno. Go ahead.
And a byword.
And a byword.
Among all nations, whether the Most High shall lead thee.
Amongst all nations, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Panama, Dominican Republic, U.S., we was carried away into all nations. So we suffer these same curses. Can't nobody tell me that we don't. Right? That's it on that?
Yes.
You want to jump to the lynching thing, sir?
Also, I want to grab Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 26. And this is to further edify the lynchings, because this is the sign, this is the evidence, this is the astonishment. And it says here, in reference to the lynchings, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Right. Now what happens after you're lynched? You hang there. Right? You're subject to whatever creature is out there looking to feast, right? So we know birds, whatever, insects, parasites, they'll all come onto you. This is prophesied in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 about our people. I want to get one last piece from the study. It says, lynching was so rampant and uncontrolled that the Mexican government and even the U.S. Council in Matamoros, Mexico, lodged official complaints. Some local Mexicans fought back. Latino rights organizations lodged protests. So it's important to know that we fought back against these things too. We weren't docile and complacent like how they try to say, oh, Latinos, they just took their beatings and that was that. When you read on in this story, it tells you that there was a number of freedom fighters in that time that were actually killing authorities and raising up mobs against the lynch mobs and taking over them. So it wasn't like we were just being hung and that was that. We fought back too. It's just that our fighting back, our riots are not heard of, right? They're not celebrated as is in the Negro struggle. So it's important that we bring these things to light so that people know that we do suffer the same thing, right? So we're attacking and casting down all of these imaginations where brothers will say, oh, we're not one with the struggle, okay? So I think the lynching was pretty clear. Okay, my brother has a few more precepts.
I just want to add these precepts in so we could just further link in our modern history with our ancient history and the curses and how it's prophecy and how it all ties together, especially knowing that this is America is Babylon and is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. As we know, Egypt means bondage, so oppression. So Revelations 11 and 8. And it says their bodies, their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt.
That's it right there. And we know that after brothers are lynched, they used to leave them there as a spectacle in the streets. Mm-hmm. So you could go there for days after and see bodies hanging in the middle of the street saying, this is a sign. They would even put signs on black people and Mexicans and say, this is what happens when you act too Mexican. Or this is what happens if you're out past night. They used to do these things.
It goes on to say, where also our Lord was crucified. Why does it say that? Let's go to Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. Christ had redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree.
What was that? Read that again,
It says, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree.
So Latinos are not cursed? We don't struggle? We are the cursed people of this world because we transgressed the commandments of the Most High when we were in our kingdom. So until we begin to keep these commandments again, that's the only way that we'll lift these curses off of us. Right?
This would be the last precept concerning the lynchings, Jeremiah 50 and 34, because Christ has redeemed those that are cursed from being hung from the tree, as it is written. It says here, their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon.
Right. So our salvation is Yeshua, Christ, our Savior, right? Now, the next topic. How many people here have heard of eugenics? Okay. All right. 1 second. We have a guest here today. a brother by the name of Felipe Luciano, who's joined us. He is, if you have not heard his name, he's a true revolutionary in the truest sense. I could go on and on about his accolades, but he doesn't like when people do that. So, I know him as Theo, that's my Theo. But he says that he has to leave. He blessed us with his presence. If we could just give him a round of applause, give the Most High a round of applause. You want to say anything, brother? Say something real quick.
Yeah, come on, brother. Just come up in the front if I can see you and hear you. Give the brother a hand. You can come around. Let me stay right here. Yeah, okay.
It's been 45 years since I've been involved in revolutionary activity, and this is the first church service that I have ever attended that is not only political, but spiritual, cultural, moral. It's the beginning of the Reformation. Christianity is going to get rocked. I am dead serious. I say that because as I was talking to my nephew the other day and we were discussing this particular service, I thought, I have been mulling over my head. I just got a master's in theology from Union Theological Seminary. And I've been asking the Creator, what do I do with this? Because I'm not that kind of a passive Christian. I believe in, praise the Lord and passing the ammo. I come from that position. I do not believe in passivity, as my nephew was talking about, but I believe in prophecy. And I'm going to make this very short. That which was rejected shall become the cornerstone. The last shall be first. There are people who will literally go against us. And as he's talking about the division between black and white, it's getting worse. One thing in our favor in this town, the Puerto Rican and black legacy is 100 years old. 100 years old. So we've been intermarried. We live together, get high together, get busted together, and we die together. Just go into any of these projects and you'll see that. So these bougie Afro-Saxons and coconuts, I call the Puerto Ricans the coconuts, for obvious reasons. Brown on the outside, you know what I'm saying. Have been trying to do this for years. Very quickly.
One, two.
And it is not moved to social justice. Christ was not killed for spirituality. He was killed for politics.
So to make a long story short, be ready for the fire next time, because it's coming.
Right, thank you for that. Praise the Most High. That's an elder. Hopefully he come back. He'll be back. All right. So where was we? Right, eugenics. Okay. How many people here have heard of eugenics? Right. Now, we're often familiar with the Planned Parenthoods, right? The Margaret Sangers that openly came out and said that she wanted to destroy the black race. That's a quote from her. Absolutely. Birth control, sterilization in this country, it's well known. But how many people are familiar with the sterilization project that took place in Puerto Rico? Okay, we got a few. Okay, we're going to get into that study because the most rampant case of sterilization in the world, in the history of the world, happened in Puerto Rico. Over 1/3 of all Puerto Rican women were sterilized. Over 1/3 of all Puerto Rican women were sterilized. That's tragic. It's more than tragic. You can't even apply words to that. So, how come that's not known? How come we don't know about that? Right? Let's get into the archive history.
Okay, this is from the CWLU History website archive.
That's the Chicago Women's Liberation Union.
Okay, it says 35% of Puerto Rican women sterilized. Undated probably late 1970s.
By the late 1970s, 35% of all Puerto Rican women were sterilized. Right? Read on.
And it goes on, it says, hitherto secret report from an economic policy group empowered by the governor of Puerto Rico has recently surfaced in the United States. One can see immediately why the report, dated November 1973, has been kept from the public. It talks openly and directly about alternatives available for reducing the ranks of the Puerto Rican working class.
Right. Now, when it says the ranks, it's talking about the population. So they openly came out and said, we want to reduce the population of Puerto Rico. Read on.
The sterilization plan. Agreeing with other studies on the astounding figure of 33% of the number of Puerto Rican women of childbearing age that have already been sterilized, the report goes on to say, in other words, of the 485,948 women of reproductive age living in Puerto Rico, excepting the area of San Juan, 160,363 are sterilized.
So over 160,000 Puerto Rican women were sterilized. It's important to know that at the same time, in America is the second most documented case of sterilization, okay, in the whole world, in the history of the world. But it's important to note that at this time, roughly 60,000 women were sterilized in the entire U.S. between 1909 and the late 60s. So that's about a 60-year period, and that was considered outrageously high. So the rate in Puerto Rico more than doubled that in half the time. So this was very pervasive. And black women weren't the only people that were sterilized. A lot of the people that were sterilized in the U.S. were like disabled people, handicapped people, people that had no choice. So when you're comparing numbers, it's almost incomparable. Ephraimite women suffered a great tragedy in that time period. Let's read on. The next page. Yeah.
In 1965, the Puerto Rican Department of Health carried out an island-wide study on the relationship between cancer of the uterus and female sterilization. Although the Department of Health says no link between cancer and sterilization was substantiated, it did discover that 34% of Puerto Rican women between the ages of 20 and 49 were sterilized. The number of women sterilized in the same age group rose to 35.3% in 1968, according to a study by the Puerto Rican demographer Dr. Jose Vasquez Calzada.
Yeah, Calzada. Let me get Hosea chapter 9, verse 16. Everybody still with me? All right, good.
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 9, verse 16. Ephraim is smitten.
Ephraim is smitten.
Their root is dried up.
Their root is dried up. That's talking about the womb.
They shall bear no fruit.
They shall bear no fruit. This is a direct prophecy concerning the Puerto Rican people.
It says, yea, though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb.
So the Most High, ordained this. This was something that we had to suffer through as a result of our transgressions. But it's prophecy. It says Ephraim is smitten. their root is dried up. Right? The Most High will slay the beloved fruit of their womb, which is the children. Okay, next verse.
Verse 17. My power will cast them away because they did not hearken unto him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations.
So the Puerto Rican people will be wanderers amongst the nations. We see that now. You know, our people, you know, Puerto Ricans, unfortunately, you see us, you know, they got those, you know, running around the streets. We're wandering. But I thought that was an interesting precept because it directly correlates to the womb of the woman and how they were attacked. Let me get that next piece and then we can move on to the...
It says the incidence of sterilization in Puerto Rico is the highest in the world. India and Pakistan, for example, which have public sterilization programs, have an estimated sterilization of 5% and 3% respectively. Right.
So, you know, when you read on into the study, and if you're familiar with the history of Puerto Ricans on the island, it goes on to say that these programs were very deliberate. They actually gave doctors in medical hospitals orders to sterilize Puerto Rican women. You know, it says if a Puerto Rican woman was coming in to get in labor and she was coming in to give birth, and she had already had 2 kids, that they would cut her tubes. You know, I don't know if that's the proper saying for it, but they would essentially induce, you know, sterilize her without her even being aware of it. You know, these are things that were happening. Also, it's important to look into Dr. Rhodes. Dr. Rhodes was a medical doctor that was hired by the U.S. government to oversee all medical dealings in the island of Puerto Rico in the early 1920s, okay? Now, he openly came out and said that the Puerto Rican race was the dirtiest race on the face of the world, and that he was gonna make it his objective to decrease the population. And he injected Puerto Ricans with cancer cells in number. This is documented, and he received awards in the U.S. for doing things of this nature. But this history is not spoken of, because once again, we as Latinos, we have to come to the forefront of our history. We have to be proud of the things that we've overcome and that we've struggled through, and let people know, right? So that's something else to look into. Also, all of these programs were funded by the Rockefellers, which is important to know because the Rockefeller family, as we know, started the whole idea of eugenics, and they were instrumental in the whole Nazi Germany.
You mind if I interject?
Of course.
Because of that, we know that seed, where it talks about in Genesis, where it talks about the woman's seed and the serpent seed.
Enmity, yeah.
That enmity is what we see today. The Rockefellers being of that seed, and those lineages and 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati is that hybrid serpent seed. Let's not forget that. That's the tail end of prophecy. Read on.
Right. So I just wanted to bring that to light, so people can be made aware. So these are 3 points that we've come to grips with so far, correlating and linking the struggles and paralleling the struggles between black and brown. The next piece that I wanted to touch on. How many people here are familiar with the Brown versus Board of Education? Can anybody give me a brief? Somebody from the crowd, just tell me what it was. Speak up. Mazana, what was the Brown versus Board? Speak up. Right. It's a very instrumental Supreme Court case that actually led to the desegregation of the school system here in America, okay? So I'm sure we've all heard about it, we've all learned about it in history class, in school, right? Now, by a show of hands, how many people here have heard of the Mendez versus Westminster case? Nobody. Maybe one or two shy people that don't want to raise their hand. Right? Mendez versus Westminster was actually a case that desegregated the California school system 8 years prior to the Brown versus Board. Now, if you notice, you pay attention to the name Mendez, right? This was a Latin civil court case. This was a civil suit against the state of California public school systems, okay? This case was fought prior to Brown versus Board. How come we don't know this history? Why is this not known amongst our people, especially Latinos? This is something that we should know offhand. Everyone is familiar with Brown versus Board, but nobody's ever heard of Mendez versus Westminster?
I want to interject because I remember seeing the Mendez versus Westminster in history growing up, but being that Brown versus Boyd was such a popular case that even myself, because I grew up around a lot of Judah, I even overlooked it and didn't take it, you know, and gravitate a sort of magnitude of that case because of how, you know, the framework of society was, you know, and how they put Judah's oppression or that aspect of Negro oppression, because we know Negroes is more than just, you know, African Americans, quote unquote, above other Negro perspectives, which is the other brown, you know, tribes, such as the Latin tribes that I come from, you know. But being that, like the brother said, it's so overlooked that we all probably seen it and just don't remember it. It's there, but it wasn't emphasized, you know.
Right.
And that's a sad case.
So let's I want to read an excerpt from you. This is from the uscourts.gov. Okay, so this is directly from the government. Let's read what they have to say about Mendez versus Westminster.
This is from uscourts.gov, Mendez versus Westminster. While Brown versus Brown, Shalakia, I'm sorry. While Brown versus Board of Education is widely known landmark Supreme Court case, few can trace its origin to the case of 9-year-old Sylvia Mendez in Mendez versus Westminster. Sylvia's case, which was decided in the federal courts in California, preceded Brown by about 8 years. Thurgood Marshall represented Sylvia Mendez and Linda Brown.
Now we all know that Thurgood Marshall actually got his claim to fame through the Brown versus Board of Education trial. But it's not known that he actually used the same argument for Mendez versus Westminster to win the Brown versus Board of Education trial. These are clear inroads and correlations between the black and brown struggle, right? This shows this is nothing more than the blending of our people together. You know, working together to fight against the system. We once knew this. We once had an understanding of this, but we've lost track of it. Everybody knows who Thurgood Marshall is. Nobody knows Mendez versus Westminster, right? Let's read, if you drop down to Court of Appeals decision.
U.S. Court of Appeals decision. The school districts appealed the case to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. The Court of Appeals affirmed Judge McCormick's ruling. 2 months later, California's Governor Earl Warren signed a bill ending school segregation in California, making it the first state to officially desegregate in public schools.
Right.
While the case was pending before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, several organizations, including the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, filed amicus, friend of the court, in parentheses, briefs. Writing for the NAACP was Thurgood Marshall, who 5 years later used similar reasoning before the Supreme Court in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. The Supreme Court adapted many of Marshall's arguments and in 1954 issued an opinion ending school segregation throughout the United States. The opinion was written by Chief Justice Earl Warren.
Exactly. So, you know, these bits of information are critical for our people to understand when you're talking about the oppression of Judah and Ephraim together, right? Because, you know, if this was a black case or a Negro case, it probably would have ended segregation in schools nationwide 8 years prior to Brown versus Board. But it didn't. It remained localized, just in California, right? We know that the Latino diaspora at that time wasn't as grand as it is now. So that's just another piece of information I wanted to bring out. I encourage brothers and sisters to look into that more in depth. Also, just a few more points that I wanted to bring out. We've all here heard of the Black Panthers, right? Everybody is familiar with the Black Panthers. But how many of us here are familiar with the Young Lords Party? Okay, we got a few. The Young Lords. How many people have heard of the Brown Berets? Right? These were Latino civil rights activist groups in the same vein as the Black Panthers that coexist with the Black Panthers in that time. The gentleman that just spoke, Felipe Luciano, was a former Young Lord member, right? And it's too bad he left us early because I wanted him to come on after this part, but that's how the Most High works, so it's all good. But you know, I encourage everybody to look into these movements. The Young Lords were highly influential, especially in New York City, Philadelphia, and Chicago, right? I just want to read a quick excerpt. This was published from Hunter College. It just tell you real quick. In the U.S., the Black Power movement raised the bar of black resistance and significantly influenced the symbolism, rhetoric, and tactics of radical activism of the Puerto Rican activists in the late 1960s. Black Power advocates among gangs, students, and others represented a model of resistance for Puerto Ricans, giving rise to a new type of Puerto Rican nationalism that also found inspiration from other sources. More specifically, the Black Panther Party has some of the most visible influences on the radical activist struggles among Puerto Ricans, fomenting a visible movement of radical ethnic nationalism. So it's well known that yes, Judah must rise first, you know, so the tribes do follow that because the scepter should not depart from Judah. We know this. But in that, Judah cannot use that to go against the other tribes that are fighting for the same thing. We have to unite and carry our brothers, which they did at that time. They recognized that. It's not well documented, but it's well known if you speak to these activists that there were many Latino brothers and sisters in the Black Panther movement. There were Cuban and Puerto Rican Black Panthers that is now spoken about. In the Young Lords, I believe 30% of the population of the Young Lords Party was actually non-Puerto Rican. 30% it was blacks, it was Dominicans, it was Cubans. Everybody was coming together in that time to overthrow the struggle. So we got to understand and we got to revert back to those tactics and bring it current, and not forget about that past. We got to be aware of our history and represent that history. Be proud of it. We got to fight back as a community and let people know that we're not in tune with the struggle. We are one with the struggle. Okay? So the last piece that I wanted to bring forth is this is a document, or actually real quick, I got a book here, it's called Palante, which was a saying of the Young Lords. It's a whole pictorial history of the Young Lords movement. I got it up here, so maybe after class, if brothers and sisters want to take a look, you can see some of the pictures and the clear blackness. I mean, right here, you got a Puerto Rican sister with an afro on the front, and you don't even know if she's Judah or Ephraim. You know, so it's clear that our people are one and the same. But as I said, the last piece that I wanted to bring current and touch upon is, how many people have heard of H. Rap Brown? right? He was highly influential in the 60s movement, in the 60s struggle. He was part of the Black Panthers. He was part of the SNCC organization, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And Rap Brown is currently serving life in prison for his work that he did at that time. So who better to speak about the movement and who was involved in that movement than him? So we have an excerpt from this book that Praise the Most High was able to put out before he was incarcerated. Excuse the language, but considering the time, the title of the book is Die Nigga Die by H. Rap Brown. It's a very powerful book that he wrote, and clearly from the title you can see what he was touching upon in the book. It's a picture of him on the back. This was put out in, I believe, 1971. But we have here an excerpt from the book, and it directly links to these people that put down Latino brothers and sisters. And let's see what he had to say about the Latino brothers and sisters in the struggle, in the movement. So just bear with me. We got a few precepts to read, but they're really good.
This is page 135. It says, "Today I will talk about two things, colonism and revolution. In other words, sickness and cure. The United States redefined colonism."
Colonialism.
I'm sorry?
Colonialism.
Oh, Slocky. Colonialism. It not only went to Africa and exploited the land and its people. It brought black people here and continues its exploitation. And it drove the Native American Indians by murder and wholesale genocide into reserves.
Right, so he's clearly recognizing, he understands the plight, right? He's gonna go in further, but he obviously, the American Indians, which we know is God.
Okay, and now this is romanticized on TV as cowboys and Indians. America is the ultimate denial of the theory of man's continuous evolution. This country represents everything that humans have suffered from, their every affliction.
Listen to his words, because they're still so relevant today.
The very fact that a place like this can exist appalls most mankind. This country is the world's slop jar. America's very existence offends me.
This is Rap Brown's words. This is not on behalf of the Gathering of Christ Church. Read on.
For black people, it is not a question of leaving or separating. Given our historical experiences, we know better than anyone that the animal that is America must be destroyed. Through capitalism, this country established colonies, but not colonies in the old sense, but like franchises. The Philippines,
Naphtali,
Venezuela,
Asher,
Vietnam, Puerto Rico,
Ephraim,
and other countries are to the United States what dope is to Harlem. Blood use it, but the mafia owns it. It just goes to show you, you give the cracker an inch and he wants a yard. You give him a yard and he'll burn a cross on it every time. There is no difference between Harlem and Puerto Rico.
Read that again.
There is no difference between Harlem and Puerto Rico.
Now this is Rap Brown talking. It don't get more Judah than this. And he acknowledges there is no difference between Harlem and Puerto Rico. Read on.
Or Harlem and Vietnam. Except that in Vietnam, people are fighting for their liberation. Now, it's also said that the Vietnamese people are of the tribe of Israel.
Right.
Of the 12 tribes.
Right.
As
We
well.
know that some of them represent Naphtali.
Right. So
this is very relevant. Go to the next stage, the next page, because this right here is really putting a nail in the coffin, so to speak, to a lot of the black nationalist rhetoric that we hear nowadays. You know, a lot of this stuff, I'm black man is God, this, that. You know, they don't understand that you can't have one without the other. And Rap Brown is gonna articulate that point better than either of us can. We don't.
This is page 141. Nationalism alone is not a political doctrine. Nationalism has to be a part of a political doctrine. Without vanguard political direction, cultural movements bring economic and or political liberalism, not revolution. We must move to define the difference between political nationalism and cultural nationalism. We must move from black awareness to revolutionary motion. To be black is a necessity but not sufficient.
Read that again.
To be black is a necessity but not sufficient.
Read on.
Every Negro is a potential traitor, and every black man is only a potential revolutionary, with emphasis on potential.
He separates the difference between Negro and black man because when you read his book, he defines the Negro as someone who seeks approval from the establishment, and he defines a black man as those that are downtrodden and immersed in their oppression. So he says they have more cause to rise up against it because they haven't gained anything from the society. So read on. This is where it gets key. This is key.
To be black is not to be revolutionary. When you begin to stress culture without politics,
when you stress culture without politics,
people can become so hooked up in the beauty of themselves.
People become so hooked on the beauty of themselves
that they have no desire to fight.
They have no desire to fight. And most of these brothers that you see on these conscious circuits is this. They talk, but they're not doing anything. They're just preaching division amongst our people. And it's not enough to do so alone. Read on.
I just want to read. I want to touch that part one more time.
Go ahead.
It says, when you begin to stress culture without politics, people can become so hooked up in the beauty of themselves that they have no desire to fight. It becomes ego gratifying just to be black.
Just like the scripture says, right? We read that earlier. Vain deceit and philosophy, right? They preach unto the doctrines of men. Let me get real quick. Let me get Matthew chapter 3, verse 9.
It's the book of Matthew chapter 3, verse 9. And think not to say with yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you, that power is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham.
You see that? So we can't boast in the fact that we are Israel, because the Most High created his nation out of stones, right? So we got to move away from, because this could easily translate. I mean, he's talking about the black movement, and black is beautiful, black and proud, but that could easily translate to the Israelites that's out here, that come at other brothers for not being of the tribes of Israel. They'll say, if you're a Gentile, you can't make it, whatever. We can't boast about these things because the Most High can make a nation out of stones. Okay? Now, let's get this last, if you go to 142.
Top.
At this stage of the struggle.
This is page 142. It says, at this stage of the struggle, the greatest danger comes from within. It has become profitable, fashionable, and even necessary to be black.
You see, so as it says in the scriptures, nothing is original. Everything repeats itself. So what was done will be done again, right? That's in Ecclesiastes. So we're seeing this come back around. It says it has become profitable, fashionable, and even necessary to be black. That's what's happening right now, except there's no cohesion and inclusion in that blackness. Read on.
Militancy is second to blackness. However, to be militant is not to be revolutionary. Upon close examination, I find that the thrust of most militancy is toward reform and not revolution. A militant in this case is one who never stops talking.
One who never stops talking. These are brothers that have no desire to be one in the movement. They just want to talk and hear themselves heard. Seducers, right? We could leave that there.
Okay, I got.
What'd you say?
Got some precepts to close out.
Yeah, I mean, I got another.
Just let me know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, just getting close to closing out. There's so much information to be brought forth. I got a bunch of stuff, but obviously, we only have but so much time. I have a report here. This is from the United States Senate. This is the wealth gap report that they just released. It shows the economic disparity amongst, all communities in the states. And Israel is suffering, above everyone else. So I just wanted to show some statistics to correlate in modern times how we're suffering the same struggle, how we're oppressed together. Because obviously in a capitalistic nation, if you have no resources, if you have no monetary income, then you're oppressed. So they try to pass things off on classism, but we know it's more than that. We know that we're oppressed due to who we are as a people. So right here, I just have, I'm just gonna go in real quick. It says, inequality manifests itself in a variety of ways, including a significant wealth gap between Caucasians and minorities. Minorities earn lower incomes and have less wealth over time. In 2011, the median net worth, or the wealth of Caucasians, was $110,500 compared to $6,300 for African Americans and $7,600 for Hispanics. So there's less than $1,000 difference between our income. So to say that, we have an agenda to overthrow the black establishment is utterly ridiculous. We're in the same boat as you.
Can I add to that? And it's funny because Dr. Umar Johnson, who's a part of the Pan-African movement, he had a piece that he talked about those economic brackets and didn't even include Latinos.
Right.
So to see that we're still in that same class shows that Judah and Israel is oppressed together. We suffer from the same circumstances. And we have these esteemed figures that are overlooking that. So that's the actual statistic that he kind of ballparked it from, because it's not as specific as that. He said it was 1,000 for Caucasian and 5,000 for
100,000 for Caucasian.
Yeah, 100,000 for Caucasians and 5,000 for so-called blacks. So as we look at the actual report, it's a little more, and the so-called Latinos are in the same bracket. So I just wanted to bring that out there.
Absolutely, and it goes on to say it just breaks down different class structures, and it says one point here is asset diversity. It says a diversified portfolio is essential for wealth creation and small business growth. As of 2009, 24% of both Hispanics and African Americans' sole asset was their motor vehicle. That's abysmal. It says, as of 2009, 24% of both Hispanics and African Americans' sole asset was a motor vehicle. So a quarter of our population, the only thing that they have state claim to is a motor vehicle, which, if you know anything about economics, that's a depreciating asset. It's not, it's not even worth what it was yesterday. And that's the only thing that we have is something that's depreciating. It says while only 6% of Caucasians have such a limited portfolio. That's crazy. Now, there's one thing that I wanted to pull because it's directly linked to the curses, one of the curses that we suffer. This is page 10, page 11 of the U.S. Wealth Gap Report released by the U.S. Senate. It says, continuing this historical trend in 2011, the Center for Responsible Lending found that among borrowers with a FICO score of over 660, African Americans and Hispanics, Judah and Israel, received a high interest rate loan more than 3 times as often as white borrowers. More than 3 times. We're receiving, they're deliberately conspiring against us. It says in July 2012, the U.S. Department of Justice settled with Wells Fargo Bank over claims that the bank consistently discriminated against qualified African American and Hispanic borrowers. Same struggle, same oppression. Let me get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43. We know verse 15, cursed will be thou, if you keep not my commandments. Right? So if we don't keep my commandments, this is what will happen, and this is obviously what has happened. Keep in mind the statistic I just read about the difficulty in getting lending and borrowing from this government, from the banks. Verse 43.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall go up above thee very high.
The stranger that is within thee, the Gentile, shall go up above thee very high. They were raised very high above us.
And thou shalt come down very low.
Thou shalt come down very low. You will dwell in the ghettos of society.
Verse 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. Who do we lend to? Who lends to us? The stranger that is within our gates, and he charges us 3 times as much according to this report? Is that not prophecy? Is that not us being together in this struggle? Because it said African Americans and Hispanics, Judah and Israel. Right? Read on.
And it doesn't mention no other nations, like
right.
quote unquote Japhet or
the Asian
or Ishmael
Middle Easterners.
or Middle
right.
Easterns.
It just talk about us.
This is the U.S. Senate's report. Verse 44. And he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. And he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
Right.
I'll read verse 45 just for good measure. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of thy power, the Most High thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
That's it.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder and upon thy seed forever.
Is that not us? And I got one last stat. This was by the New York Daily News. I believe it was released not so long ago. It says dated 2010. But the trend still remains. This is current, right? It says the South Bronx is the poorest district in the nation. U.S. Census Bureau finds 38% of the people live below the poverty line in the South Bronx. Just a quick excerpt, it says, the South Bronx had 256,544, or 38% of its residents living below the poverty line. The new county-by-county census stats show the figures are worse for children, with 49% living in poverty. Now, who here could tell me who lives in the South Bronx? Right? Right. It's mostly Ephraim, right? Simeon. That's Northern Kingdom. Now, they'll say that we don't have similar oppression to Judah. They'll say that, we're not as poor. We don't suffer the same curses. This is more proof. It also says here, if Puerto Rico were to be considered a state, the highest overall poverty rate for a U.S. jurisdiction would be Puerto Rico, where 45% of adults and 56% of all children are impoverished. That is astronomically higher than any state here in the Union. So, to conclude the lesson, and we'll touch upon a few precepts to close it out in the grace of the Most High. I just wanted to bring forth information, tangible documentation to show you that we suffer the same struggle and we're oppressed in the same exact ways. There is no difference. So don't let anybody deceive you in saying that we're not the same people or we don't suffer the same curses. It's the same exact thing. We all transgress against the Most High. So the only way back is to keep the commandments and give all praise and glory to the Most High. So we got to come back to that as a people. Let's get you got a couple. You got.
Yeah, I got some stuff.
All right.
Let's go to Hosea chapter 1. Hosea chapter 1, verse 10. And it says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it is said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are sons of the living power.
Ye are sons of the living power. So who here in these states is more known to not be God's people than us? Everybody look at us, and they know we curse. But in the same land, it'll be known that we are the sons of the living power.
Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 15. And it says here, the word of the Most High came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou, son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand.
Into one stick.
And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Verse 19. And say unto them, thus saith the Most High Power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall become one in my hand. Verse 20. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be thine hand before their eyes. Verse 21. And say unto them, thus saith the Most High Power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will be gathered them every side, and bring them into their own land. Jeremiah chapter 3.
We will be one people once again.
Verse 18. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 18. And it says, in those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north.
North America.
To the land that I have given for inheritance unto your fathers. And that's it on that.
That's it on that. See, so the Most High is going to pull us out of this land. I just want to close out with one last precept. Let me get Sirach chapter 4. Verse 27.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 4, verse 27. Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man.
Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man. So these people out here that are speaking these vain deceits, these philosophies, don't even follow that.
Neither accept the person of the mighty.
Neither accept the person of the mighty. So when people are up on a podium and they seem grand in person, they're on TV, they're in documentaries, that's a person of the mighty, except neither him. The Most High is not a respecter of persons, right? Seek wisdom. Go on.
Verse 28. Strive for the truth until death.
Strive for the truth unto death. Always strive for the truth. Don't look to have your conscience, don't look for a pat on the back. Find the truth unto death. And what?
And the Most High shall fight for thee.
And the Most High shall fight for thee. So with that, I want to conclude my lesson. There's so much more to be brought out, but I think, the elder, I think, moving forward, we'll probably have a couple more studies to break down some of the more ancient history that correlates our people. But all praise and glory to the Most High. Also, real quick, just because I'm on the mic, I gotta do this. I got my father here today. I just want everybody to give all praise to the Most High for bringing him out. That's he's been a model for me since the beginning. That's a strong black Puerto Rican man, and he's been a role model and an image to me since the beginning. Obviously he was there with me for my whole life, and I'm thankful that he's here today, and hopefully we see him back. Tell him come back, right? But all praise to the Most High in Christ. The water Ahaya Ba'Shem Yeshai Wa Kadash. The water.
Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High for these young warriors. Give them a standing ovation. Amen. Doing the work. All hands on deck, and their hands are in deck. Yeah, just switch it a little bit. Just a little more. Yeah, and then it's a little higher. That's good. Perfect. So, I think, and I know we in regards of the further understanding with the tribe of Reuben, in regard to the Seminole Indians, that's Gad, and I know we're supposed to do a new sign of the 12 tribes, correct? Right. What we want to do going forward, because we as a nation are not together, and I think the 12 tribes sign should be as the Most High prophesied to Ezekiel to do. Put two sticks, two signs, and join them together, because we ain't together yet, right? So we're supposed to have two separate sticks, two separate signs, dealing with Judah and dealing with Ephraim and his companions, and join them together. And when the people tell them, what are you doing? What does this represent? You bring them back to the scriptures. And there's a lot more. Let's continue in Ezekiel 37:22.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains.
We ain't one nation yet. Read.
Of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all.
And that king is Christ, the lineage of David. Read.
And they shall be no more two nations.
And should there be what?
They shall no more be two nations. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all.
At all. Read.
Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned.
Jump down to 25.
Verse 25. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children, and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever.
And that servant is Christ, because Christ took the crown of David. Read.
Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them.
He will make a covenant of peace. Read.
It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their power, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know.
And then, read that again.
And the heathen shall know that I, the Most High, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore.
So now is the time, because, and this, Brother was inspired by the Most High to go into this understanding, this history, because we within, and give me Zephaniah chapter 2, real quick, brother. Zephaniah chapter 2. We within the Pan-African movement, the pro-black movement, which always been in America, and now it's getting a second wind. But now there's a new form of Pan-African.
Right.
Atheist Pan-Africans, atheist, black, movement individuals. They're saying that, we don't have to worship God. And all the founders, right? They always gave a knowledge to a creator. When you go all through Africa, you always have everyone worshiping a God. So what is this new concept of Pan-African saying, well, we don't have to believe in God?
Right.
Okay? And now, if we're going to go and say, okay, I don't believe in God, but I'm going to embrace my culture. I'm going to embrace my culture. Okay? All right, let's embrace the culture. Let's go into ancient culture. Where is, when you go and trying to find solely on evidence, what was the culture of Africa where the majority of black people came, which is South Africa, West Africa. West and South Africa. What was the culture before Islam? What was the culture before Catholicism? Just do the research. It was Hebrew.
Absolutely.
Huh? What was the name of Spain before it was called Spain? Hebrew. What is the word the Ebrews means? Hebrew. So what was the culture? So by the process of elimination, if you're going to follow the Hebrew culture, you are following an African culture. Now, many people with the Pan-African movement, they start talking about, well, Egypt was the greatest culture of black civilization. All right, so we're going to embrace the black, the greatest culture that ever lived. All right, I'll give you that within the black community or the black race or what have you. Okay, so let's embrace the Egyptian culture. Are we going to start now as men, start drinking the menstrual period of our wives? Because that's what the Egyptians were doing to get the power of Ma'at. Let's embrace the culture, right? Are we going to be killing and dying with our servants and take our gold with us because we wanted to pass it to the afterlife? Let's embrace that culture,
bestiality.
Right? Are we going to start running around and having a different God in every pharaoh? Every pharaoh, you have like 27 gods. And this pharaoh was popular with this pharaoh, then that pharaoh died, and then another pharaoh said, I'm going to deal with this God. When you go into the culture of the Egyptian culture, which was the greatest culture from the perspective of ancient black culture, they had big monuments, big statues, right? And what that got them? What that got them? But yet, goat herders, the working class, their God destroyed that culture. So which God is superior then? Which culture is superior? And which culture best fit and gives the more answers for the black and Latino community in 2014? Is the Egyptian culture or the Hebrew culture?
Hebrew.
So those people are dead and buried. What is going to fit us today as a people? These laws, these statutes and commandments. Okay? So we have to come back. And it's time to come back.
Elder, I got a precept for you.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
This is the book of James, chapter 3, verse 13. It says, Who is a wise man and endureth with knowledge among you?
Uh-huh.
Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
Uh-huh.
But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth.
Uh-huh.
This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish.
Uh-huh.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceful, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partitionally and without hypocrisy. Verse 18, and the fruit of the righteous is sown in peace of them that make peace.
The Hebrew culture is dominant. Bottom line. They say, you know what? We're going to obey and honor the true living God. The only God, because when you go into the Egyptian culture or any other culture, whether it be in Babylon or ancient Kemet, Sumer, they all deal with different gods. There's a God for the water. There's a God for the mountains. There's a God for trees. There's a God for bearing children. And you have to do all kinds of different things to please that God. And not one deals with morality. Not one. Not one deals with morality. All they want is give me my sacrifice. Give me my, this is the potion you have to do to grant this wish. Not one deals with morality. Okay? And you may ask a Egyptologist or Kemetic person, well, what about Ma'at? Well, Ma'at was not dealing with the moral standard, how you're supposed to live. This is what you're supposed to confess at the end of your life and say, I have done not these type of things, right? And to receive certain blessings from Ma'at. Okay? There's only, what is it, 42 confession? Okay? What about homosexuality? It's not there. Well, bestiality is not there.
Sabbath.
What about the Sabbath? Is not there. Right? What about the over 360 laws that there was, which is called the perfect science? Is not there. So if we're going to go, which is more superior, 42 versus 313 rather, you tell me. Okay, so let's go to Zephaniah chapter 2, and we're under there. Go ahead, brother.
From the top up?
From the top.
This is the book of Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together.
Gather yourself together.
Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
And we're not desired. The nations do not want us to come together. That's why they hide these historical struggle when the black and brown, the tribe of Judah and Ephraim got together and fought against their oppressor. Read.
Before the decree bring forth. Before the day pass as the chaff. Before the fierce anger of the Most High come upon you.
And that fierce anger is coming. He's going to judge all nations. Read.
Before the day of the Most High's anger come upon you. Seek ye the Most High. All ye meek of the earth.
Read that again.
Seek ye a higher. All ye meek of the earth.
So we're the meek. That's why Christ says, blessed be the meek, for they will do what?
Inherit the earth.
That's right. Read.
Seek ye a higher, all the meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness. Seek meekness. It may be, ye shall be hid in the day of the Most High's
He's
anger.
going to hide you when every nation is cast in hell, right? He's going to protect us. And we seek him. So let's give the Most High a hand for preserving these words and these statutes and commandments. So we're going to make it, we're going to end it there. So I know people have to leave because they got to grab some trains and buses. So what we're going to do is make some quick announcements. We have the campsite for the Feast of Tabernacle. It's going to be $40 a person, $100 a family. Please see my wife to give her the money and get the receipt. We're going to be leaving here Friday morning. And matter of fact, in my bag, there's like a greenish plastic situation there, and I got the information there. We're going to be leaving Friday morning here, and then coming back Monday afternoon. Okay, so just make sure you grab one of these pamphlets. It has basically what you need. and also the direction in the back. It's only 113 miles away from the George Washington Bridge. It's estimated 1 hour and 51 minutes, under 2 hours, a driving time, estimate. Okay, and let me just read this real quick. We will be leaving Friday morning, September 26th, and returning Monday afternoon, September 29th. It's a 3-day picnic trip. $40 a person, $100 a family. Children under 5 are free. You must provide your camping gear, such as your camping tent, food, refreshments, and enough clothing to last you for 3 days. The campsite address, and it's here at 17 Bridge Street, Phoenicia, New York, and also we have the contact number. Okay, so you make sure you grab this if you plan to come. Okay, if it's a situation that you have problems with finances, please come see me. We'll take care of it. Do not come just because you're tied up with money and you can't afford this or the other. We're also going to be renting a van. So we're going to be meeting here. So those that don't have a van or vehicle and would like to go there, please let my wife know, and then we will put you on the list in regards of those that need a car and a vehicle and things of that nature. And those that have extra space in their vehicle, and they say, yeah, I could afford 1 extra person, I could fit 2 extra person, we could come here and we all leave together. In the event that there's people that will work on that Friday and want to meet us later, please communicate that with us, and we work that out. And we got maybe have 2 vans, one for the early, one for the late shift, so to speak. So it's a 3-day feast. Last year it was beautiful. We was there camping for 3 days, eating together, sleeping together, going over the scriptures. We went to the lake, bathed, well, now all together, things of that nature. But we really got in contact with nature in the Most High. We had no electricity, right? No electricity because the phone couldn't work, so we couldn't even make phone calls we wanted. I think Sister Shirley was the only one that worked. So it was a beautiful thing just to separate ourselves from the world. So let's give the Most High a hand for that. Okay. If we can, let's do. Yes, go ahead, brother.
Tomorrow, Brother Kazak,
yes,
his music name known by Kaz-D, will be having a performance at the Pyramid Club. The doors open at 8 p.m. It's going to be on Avenue A. It's 101 Avenue A between 6th and 7th Street. Admission is $10. So we're going to be there. I know a few brothers. We're going to go down. So if y'all want to come, it's going to be a great time. He's going to get on the mic. And it's also going to be an MC battle afterwards. So it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, and Kazak could rap. I was into his stuff. I was like, wait a minute, who's this guy? I got to take a look at this brother. All right, so definitely he's bringing the truth. So we always got to support those brothers and things of that nature, okay? Because the world now is watching the Israelite culture. And they have noted, and I had spoken to many people within the black conscious community. They realize that every time you mention the word Israel in their videos, whether it be a debate or anything, is the highest ratings. Yeah, most views. It's most views. We're talking about 20,000, 30,000, things of that nature. Every time the debates dealing with Israel or religious context is one of the highest. So, and especially dealing with the scriptures. So all eyes on us. So let's use this momentum to show the world how the GOCC, how we do it. So let's definitely be out there, support the brother. Those that could make it, or people could see. There's a turnout. There is a need there for righteous music because people are out there. Okay, so amen. So let's do it before we.
They're not going to be ready. They're not going to be ready.
They're not going to be ready. Okay. So let's go there strong. All the brothers, if you're not doing anything, you show support. Make sure you grab the address before you leave and things of that nature. I'm definitely going to be there supporting and having a good time. So before we end this and we pray out, let's do a small collection. I hope it's not too small. Please try to give and things of that nature. Oh, yes, and while we're doing that, who's here for the first time? Raise your hand. First timers. We got 1, 2, okay? All right, before we end it, yes, sir, introduce yourself. Who are you and why are you here? Amen. Amen. Again, let's give the Most High a hand for that. Thank you for coming. Please come back. Yes, brother. Okay. Well, bless you, brother. Bless you. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Please try to give as much as you can. I see a sister in the back. I know first time. Who are you and why are you here? Okay. Well, thank you, sister. Come back. Welcome. 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 Okay. Well, thank you for your donations. Whatever you could get, we do appreciate. Wait, we got another one over here. Yes, sister. I didn't see you with the beautiful gold covered. Please introduce yourself. It's a blessing. Right, right. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Hmm. Well, amen. Just give the sister a hand. And also the sister, my understanding, you sell Torahs. You sell Torahs as well. So if anybody's interested, come see the sisters. And I'm going to grab them too. So make sure you say one for me and things of that nature. We'll just give the Most High hand for that as well. Oh, yes. We got to, I got the big pole. I got to take it out the way. Yes, sister. Who are you and why are you here? Well, amen. Welcome. Thank you. Let me make sure. I see some new faces, right? No. Let me some. I see some of you. Let me. No. First timers, no? Okay. They've been here before? Okay. Welcome back. Okay. Bless you. Okay. So let's please face the rise and let's face the east. And Brother Iron will start. We will do the English and then the Hebrew.
Ahaya Bahashem Yeshaya, Wawawak. Ahaya Bahashem Yeshaya, Wawawak. Our Father, which art in heaven, holy be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. In the Hebrew, Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kadash Haya, Shemka, Ahaya, Malakwithka, Taba'a, Ratazamanka, Haya Aisha, Ba Arataza, Kalahaya, Ba Shemayim, Nathanael, Lacham, Kalyalam, Wasalat Nawa, Kalabath Nawa, Kasalat Nawa, Kalabath Yanawa, Wala'a, Thabaya'a Nawa, Banisayalan, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Manrai, Kaya Lakat, Ha Malakwath, Waha Allah, Wahata Parath, La'ai Lelenium, Aman, Ahaya Bahashem Yeshai Wawa Kadash, Aman. Oh, he did too? Okay. In English too? Okay. Okay. And Hebrew and English. All right. So I just, all right. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. The Lord our power is one Lord. Hear, O Israel. The Lord our power is one Lord. Hear, O Israel. The Lord our power is one Lord. Shemai, Yasha'ala, Ahaya, Alahayanawa, Ahaya, Achad. Shemai, Yasha'ala, Ahaya, Alahayanawa, Ahaya, Achad. Shemai, Yasha'ala, Ahaya, Alahayanawa, Ahaya, Achad. Give it that much. This one's messing up.
Shema Yashirallah Ahaya Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Shema Yashirallah Ahaya Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Shema Yashirallah Ahaya Alahaya Nawa Ahaya
Love you very much. See you next week.